Well, I'm glad you all are here, and I think you're going to really enjoy this presentation. Our speaker today is Karen Wilson. She's a kiln form glass artist and teacher. She started her glass journey at the Art Glass Center at Glen Echo in 2009, shortly after she finished treatment for breast cancer. A week after she finished treatment for her breast cancer, her husband died suddenly and unexpectedly. And as part of her own journey, healing journey, she turned to meditation, Qigong, and glass art. She retired after a long career as an attorney in 2017 and created a large glass studio at her home. And that allows her to create and explore glass art as well as practice her meditation and Qigong. So without further ado, I'm happy to introduce Karen Wilson, a longtime member. Go ahead, Karen, you're
Thank
welcome
you.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Becky. I'm going to share my computer.
The green button, did you get that?
Yeah, I was looking for my presentation.
Okay, good, there you go.
There. So, okay, that looks like it's good. All right. Okay.
We're not seeing
Oh,
it
wait.
full screen.
Oh, wait.
So.
But it's also, oops, I'm sorry. Oh, boy. Best laid plans. It was also at the end and not the beginning. So let me see if I can try that again. We even practiced this.
Karen, don't worry. We've had this happens a lot.
Okay,
not
so
the first.
All right, so.
And then play from beginning over on the left-hand side there, first button.
All right. Okay, now do I have it?
It looks great now.
Okay, here we go. And then let me see, remind myself, I just hit next, right?
Yeah.
So you know who I am. And so as Becky said, it was a kind of a rough time in end of 2007 and 2008. And just reminds us all that, life has its ups and downs and you never know what's going to be next. So, but I feel like I'm quite a resilient person and I want to find a way to make things better. So I turned to Qigong. That came actually out of acupuncture, and one of my friends was a teacher of Qigong for breast health. So I thought, well, I'm going to do what I can to avoid any recurrence of this. Then of course, I do things 1000%. So then I became an instructor and did medical Qigong. And I also always loved meditation. So then I thought, well, I'd like to be a teacher, to give back to others. So I did this 2-year teacher training program with, I'm sure most of you know, all of you probably know Tara Brach and Jack Kornfield. And then I started traveling. I suddenly had a little bit more time on my hands with no husband, and my kids had just kind of moved on to college age. So I looked, okay, well, I'm doing everything I can, covering all the bases to see how can I have better health and healing. And glass was a big part of that. So as Becky mentioned, I started my glass journey at the Art Glass Center at Glen Echo, right, around 2009. And then the AGC has this wonderful artist journey program that they do occasionally, and they happened to do it in 2012. And so I joined that. I jumped right on that. And several people, well, Margaret Halpern and Catherine Hubley and others were in that program. And this was really the beginning of my gratitude journey too. So I started, my theme for my year's journey was Stardust and Sisterhood, because glass comes basically from sand comes from stardust. And I had all these wonderful women helping me on my healing journey. So Stardust and Sisterhood were, a big part of that leap into glass in a more complete way. So then, integrating my glass and my travels, I went to India several times. This was the first time, and I loved the sacred geometry in all the mandalas in all over India, really. But what really got my attention was the on the floor of the Taj Mahal building itself, there were these 8-pointed stars. And on the right, you'll see a really good travel buddy of mine, Lisbeth, and she's an architect, and you couldn't take photos inside the Taj Mahal. So, but she, and I could not figure out how to draw these things, but she could tell by being an architect, she understood that. So she drew these drawings for me. And so this was the beginning of my pathway. And so I came back and I was all excited. I was going to do these in glass. And so I started out, the 8-pointed star has so much significance in almost every possible culture and religious tradition, spiritual tradition. And so these are fairly rudimentary, but they were hard to make precise, really, really hard. Don't look too closely, especially at the right one, but it was fun playing with color and seeing what I could do with this, kind of basic 8-pointed star shape. And then triangle bars came into the picture. So I don't know how many people have taken the kaleidoscope triangle bar with Susan McGarry, but it was really, really good. But I took it in 2018, but it didn't really sink in. I took it again, probably around, we're in around 2020 now. I took it again and just saw so many possibilities. And so if you can see on the right, in the center of a mandala, you could use 4 triangle bars to make a square, or you could use 8 triangle bars to make a square in the center. And then you have your whole bar of possibilities, just making them putting them in different directions. And these are 2 fairly simple mandalas that I made in the beginning, where you can see in the middle of the pictures there are 2 completely different frameworks, if you will, for the triangle bars, and then the right, different colors. So already you can see there's so many different possibilities of what you can bring. So from the mandalas, then I started doing more and more complex, from the kaleidoscope pattern bars, whether I started doing more and more mandalas, and it's really very much of a mosaic style. It's laying out the background, but then taking really each piece of Murini and placing it individually to create different designs in the mandala. And really there's unlimited possibilities, but it's really taking all these different pieces to create one integrated whole. And then, so I'm looking at these mandalas and studying the, looking back at Qigong, looking back at meditation and the Indian religions, Buddhism and Hinduism and the sacred geometry. And these are things I've always loved. My undergraduate degree was in philosophy and religion. So really it's like I'm coming back home. This is an exciting time for me of looking at all these things. So there are several themes that are coming out, and it's really, the mandala isn't just, just a mosaic. It's really, and this is true for all art, all glass art especially too, but the mandala is like an alchemical portal. And it shows us that everything is connected and everything is energy and vibration, and everything can be transformed. So no matter what things are there, we can change them. We can create something different. And then Carl Jung is somebody that I've always loved reading about. And one of the things I found out was in 1916, he was a commandant at a British prisoners camp in Switzerland. And he wrote this book called Mandala Symbolism. And in that, he said he discovered mandalas as, as basically an alchemical portal while he was drawing pictures every morning in this prisoners camp. And each day things would evolve in what he was drawing. And he realized that the drawings were speaking to him. It was basically a two-way conversation between him and the universe. So it was really quite fascinating. And he drew this conclusion from it. He says, formation, transformation, eternal minds, eternal rebirth. And so that gives you this sense of the hope in what we can do with our, what we can bring into our world and our life and our work. So the another part of Carl Jung that's really very important is the symbolism. And he sees the collective unconscious with things, the geometric shapes, colors, and numbers all have meanings, historical meanings that, you know, there's certain things that seem to say the same kind of messages to everyone. So from all of these things, you know, you can, it's a real important to have the intention, whatever your intention is, and then connect yourself and the universe. And then this gives us a window into our soul, into our heart, and into what's really important to us. And so a little bit deeper then in what is a mandala. So mandala, the word itself is Sanskrit, and it's a word that means circle, literally circle, but it also is symbolic for the wholeness of the universe, for unity. And there's really three parts to it. You've got the middle part. Well, it's really two parts, I guess. The middle point is called the circumpunct, and that's like the beginning of you, the beginning of the universe. But then you can view everything in the circle from your own internal perspective, or you can view it as externally, looking at the outer world, the universe we live in. And the mandala, so we're looking at how we can bring the universal symbols in the world, the sacred geometry, the universality of directions, elements, seasons, and basic order in the universe, bring these things together, looking at them from an external perspective and an internal perspective. Then within that mandala, there's basically five components. You've got symmetry, you've got geometry, the sacred geometry, the shapes, you've got color, you've got the numbers, and you've got your intention, or the intention of the artist. So with these things in mind, you can, it's really a wonderful tool for self-reflection. And the Buddhists initially started this as a tool for transforming suffering in yourself, in the world, into joy and happiness. And again, it's that concept of rebirth, of new beginnings, and always open to change. So the next couple of slides, I just want to show just kind of an overview of the symbolisms that are universal. And it's not to say that a circle has to mean this to you, but a circle generally has a meaning of, beginning and ending, wholeness. A triangle, square has that sense of solidity, balance, and an octagram, for example, the eight four corners of space and time, it's often a sign of hope. And then the dot in the middle, it's generally the representative of the soul, as well as eternity. And then you also have in nature, the harmonic energy patterns that we see in nature are really sacred geometry too. So we have all these shapes. We see it in nature. We see how, and I love this Carl Jung quote, in all chaos, there is a cosmos, in all disorder, a secret order. So as we know, you can look at every single snowflake is different. And it may look like there's just, snowflakes everywhere, but each one its own unique, beautiful piece of artwork. And then, of course, color and numbers. And there are universal meanings, and as Carl Jung would say, it's all in the collective unconscious. Again, you have your own connections to numbers, colors, something traumatic might have happened with the color purple, or you may love red, or you may hate green, or whatever it is. So your particular symbolism doesn't necessarily mean it's part of the collective unconscious, but yet there is this general sense, so that when you use colors and numbers and shapes and nature in art, it does tend to bring with it a lot of meaning. And basically, as I view it, I think that the universe is speaking to us. And a Goethe quote from long ago, art reveals the hidden laws of the world, which without art would remain invisible. And Carl Jung, the artist is not a person who seeks his own ends, but one who allows art to seek its purpose through him. And I think these are both really, really important, because we are seeing, we as artists, we see the invisible and we make the invisible visible. And we're listening to what's going on in the world, and we have the chance to explore and present these things and evolve both as an individual and as a society too, really. And so now I want to get into a little bit more specifics on the glass. But I think that all that background and the symbolism is so important in understanding how the mandala comes to be what it is. So when I start a mandala, the colors that go into the pattern bars are always really the main starting point. And then, so once I create the pattern bars, and you can see, I think you can see a pattern bar shape in what's in here. But within the pattern bar shapes, then I decide, well, what is going to be my circumpunct? What's going to be the center area? Because I start from the middle and move out. I know a lot of mosaic teachers like Bonnie Fitzgerald will tell you starting out and moving in is easier, but I just find it's that I'm starting with my center of myself and then moving out. And so I look at some of the basic shapes that you can make, using the triangle bars to the top four are really the basic shapes that I'll go through on every single mandala that I will do, just to see what they look like. And I take pictures along the way, because as I start putting them into then a framework, as you can see on the bottom four on the left of this, the framework can vary tremendously. And I don't know which one's going to be the one that's going to feel the best to me. And believe me, as I go through the mandalas, it often changes, and it's a lot of pulling apart and reworking. So, and I can feel that evolution of the ideas coming through me, and what does it mean coming through me. And I also will make matching, not really matching, but blending pattern bars. So as you can see in the bottom, there's the turquoise and orange pattern bar, but there's also just a plain, different shades of turquoise pattern bars. And I find that mixing those combinations helps really create a much more complex picture in the mandala. So then once I decide on what the picture of the four on the bottom, the right picture is the one I ended up picking for the mandala itself. So once I do that, then I will put it on a grid on a piece of glass, and then I'll just use some glass tack to put it down, so I can move it around later if I change my mind, but it stays in place, because you start dealing with hundreds of little Murini, and you really need to have some stability in there to keep things in shape. So what I'll do then is, then I look, I've collected so many different kinds of Murini. I've made Murini, I've bought Murini from just about everyone I think that sells Murini. And I have probably 30 different kinds of Murini in every color. So I can pick the Murini based on the kind of design that's in the Murini, based on the shade, based on how much transparency is in it. And so it does end up being very much of a mosaic in picking what colors are going to work best. And again, I usually work in a section, and like the first section around the circumpunct, and then I may not like it, or I may try a couple of sections just to see, but it doesn't always work. And I sometimes have to start over again, but that's okay. I go to my studio downstairs, I turn on the music, and it's quite a Zen place, and I enjoy very much doing this. So then Nancy Weiser has really been a wonderful mentor to me. And she came and said she'd seen I post my things on Facebook, which you probably have all seen. And Nancy said, I love the mandala that you're doing. And I think it would be something that we could teach in class. And so we started teaching. I think 2021, we had our first class. And I had never taught a class, and I was a little, I was a little hesitant. But with Nancy, I wasn't hesitant at all. I knew that between us, we would be able to do it fine. And so we just, the top row in here, we just did a class in February. You can see some of the people that were in our class. And the bottom is from prior classes, the bottom row. And I would love to share that several of the bottom, the two on the, well, I can't remember for sure whose, but several of the people that took our class had never done glass before. And it's really wonderful to be able to bring in people. I mean, everybody loves being able to be in community and connect with others and share and get into their soul. And in this, one of my dreams when I became a teacher of Qigong and a teacher of meditation was I wanted to do like a day workshop or a half day workshop. I could have people come in and I could do a little bit of all of them all day. I wasn't even necessarily thinking of glass art, but just to have art, body, mind, and spirit, and bring all these things together to help people. Because I had been helped so much in recovering from things that happened for me, and I wanted to be able to help other people do that. So Nancy said, that'd be great. So we do Qigong and we do meditation and we do some soul support work throughout the 4 days of this class. And if you can see the little cards on the bottom of the pictures of the mandalas, these are what are called soul cards. So soul cards are really, they're a wonderful way of tapping into the quantum universe, if you will. And it's a deck of cards. They've been, I have a slide later that explains them a little bit more, so I won't explain it so much right now. But you have them all facing down and everyone picks one card. And that's basically the Tao. The universe is speaking to you saying, pick this card, it's got a message for you. So everybody picked their card. And it was fascinating to see how, no one had to use the card to design their mandala based on that card. But you can see on the mandalas and the cards, people really were influenced by what they had picked in, one way or another. And then Nancy and I have our cards. You can see my card I picked. I had the star shirt that I was wearing during the class, and here I have my star card. We actually made a mandala this last class, but we normally don't make a mandala. But I had my star shirt that I wore as I brought in. But it was just wonderful seeing how people could connect in. And, I think people did, like several people, I think on the call have been in the class. And, the movement, we would do Qigong movements at the end of the breaks and the end of the day and the start of the day. And we would do meditations. And then I ask everyone to put their intent together at the beginning, along with the soul card, so that again, because it's what we have in our minds, makes a big difference in our what happens during the day. So I just am so grateful to Nancy for inspiring me to want to teach. And then I thought, oh, I can do this. this is okay. And then then I had been a studio artist at Glen Echo. And that made me think, well, the resident artists at Glen Echo are the ones who teach the classes. So I thought, well, maybe I'd like to become a resident artist there and teach. So I did do that. I was, was blessed to be allowed to go in, and I taught for several years there, and that was a wonderful experience also. And, just nothing like being in community and with other people and learning from each other. There's nothing so good as that. So then, so then I continued throughout all this, I continued to, explore the mandalas. And so some of the things that I've been looking into are, I love the transparency. So I'm using a lot more transparencies in the mandalas. And this was, so the top left, you'll see this was a basic framework. And I thought, okay, I'm going to use that same framework in 3 different mandalas that you see there on the right, but I'm going to have it totally different center, totally different outside, different shapes, and just see how they emerge. And they all came out very differently, as you can see. And, I asked people, well, which one do you like best? And, as you can imagine, some people liked the nice, bright purple, warm, summery feeling. Some people preferred the softer, gentler greens of the middle one. And then the right-hand one has that, kind of more of that contrast, but I love the turquoise and orange contrast, you probably noticed. So anyway, then I shared these 3 pictures because I took them up to my dining room to take pictures with the light shining through. And these rainbow lights showed up in the pictures. And I just thought that was so beautiful. And I thought, here I am, one with they're one with the universe. Anyway, I just loved how the rainbow light came in. It just reminds you that the unseen is there, whether we see it or not. Those beautiful lights are everywhere. And so there's continuity in all of these, but it's also a reflection of the change. And I was somewhat doing it based on the seasons. I only had enough for 3, so there's 3 seasons. But anyway, things do change, but there also is continuity that keeps us all grounded and connected. And so the next, so this slide then, these are ones that I've just been finishing the last week or 2. And I really felt this need for grounding, with all the craziness in the world going on right now. And I really am not drawn so much to these earth tones. I do like the deep red, but I had mink as the background, and it's not a color I use a lot, but I just was really wanting something very earthy. And so I made these 2 out of the same sets of triangle bars. And in the middle, I wanted to, just show a little bit of how I view, some detail of the pattern bars that were in both of these 2 different pattern bars, but also the people that I find the best people to help me with the Murini. And so the top ones, there are 3 that have designs, if you call designs, I guess you call them. They're sort of flowery, but I look at it more as just a design. And and Lori Marino of Wilderness Glass made those. And there's a lot of people making more and more complex flowery designs and fish designs and bumblebee designs and everything. And I just like them a little simpler. So I like the way Lori makes these. And they have that same kind of a sense of the sacred geometry with the 8 points and the dots and the lines and things. So I love Lori's. And then in the bottom 4, there's a dark one that's deep red. It didn't photograph really well. It's basically not that dark. It's the one that's you'll be surprised to know it's the deep red on the outside of the mandalas. But that one is done by Stephanie Brown of Murini Shop, and I really like hers. Hers are a little bit small, but they're fairly straightforward and do have some transparent in the middle. My absolute favorite person though is Ted Mumford, and the other 3 on the bottom. He does something called Murini Aura, so he'll have different colors, and he calls them like green aura or slate aura or whatever it is. And I just love these. He's doing a similar kind of a dance with light. and wants to be able to create Murini where enough light can come through. The transparents are in the middle, and just a thin edge of color on the outside. And then he also, the yellow one that's there, he also does some that have a little bit more complex transparencies, and those I have anyway. I have all of these Murini colors in the mandalas. And another thing that actually Nancy started doing it is to make it a little bit simpler, because sometimes these can get a little too complex. But to make them a little simpler, just use medium or coarse frit. So the mandala here on the right, I just put mink coarse frit around all the, in all four of the kind of the U shape. And it gave it the way it didn't completely melt. So it melted, but it left, it looks kind of earthy, I thought, the way it came out. It wasn't exactly what I expected, but it was one of those, the happy accidents, if you will. I was glad at how it turned out, because both of them have that real, for me anyway, the colors make them feel real earthy, and I wanted to have more of a simple star, because stars really, when you can have each numbered star has a different meaning, but basically all stars are symbols of hope. So I thought, well, Earth being grounded and having a sense of hope is a good thing right now. So these are the way that mandalas are messages from the universe and from me. And so, when I was in India, there were these beautiful mandalas everywhere. And I love this quote. It was actually about a mandala show that was in New York recently. And it's, if the Buddhist art is meant to guide us to enlightenment, it just as often reveals the blood, beauty, and mystery of earthly life. And the reason I really like that is because, and the reason I combine this with the earthy mandalas I just did, is that we want to live with hope and peace, but in this earth, on this earth. We need to be, in this earth, making a difference and doing what we can. And so at the end of the class, then this is something for any of you who may want to make mandalas, and I use this in our class at the end. The mandala is not a one and done kind of a thing. It really is something that you can meditate on forever, and it's really can be part of your journey. And as you go to sleep at night, you can ask for guidance. What is your message from your mandala? And I don't recommend I don't recommend you look at symbolism and then take the symbolism into your mandala. I recommend you listen to your intuition, make your mandala, but then what messages came to you? I mean, if you picked green, well, what does green mean? If you picked a square, what does that? If you picked a 5-pointed star, and then so check it out afterwards, and then that gives you more insight. And journal about your mandala, and what message you get is going to change over time. And again, your intentions, we are co-creators in this universe. So what we do has an impact on those around us, as we all know. And we're in a bad mood, others around us are going to not be in such a good mood. So how can we help co-create that better world? And so I don't only do mandalas, though, so I did want to share a little bit about other things. But as I look at all of the work that I do, a lot of it is a mosaic style, if you will, because I love to take different types, different pieces, different parts, and put them together in different ways. So the one on the left was one of the first ones I did. I love Richard Parris and his tapestry work, so I had some leftover tapestry pieces. I had a lot of triangle bars and I had lots of Murini. So I just started putting them all together, again, mosaic style. And this one I called, when it finished, I named it Stairway to Heaven, because it did just feel like it was just, going up. And it just had a very positive feeling to it. And the middle piece, you might have seen that one at the the show that the Strathmore show. I was trying to think of the name of the Strathmore show that's just ended, I guess, today. Anyway, that was there, and I was very grateful to get the Excellence in Glass Award from the Guild for that piece. And that was Sunflowers for Ukraine. And so just really making freehand use of Murini, but create more of a pointillist kind of approach in creating the piece. And the right one was a kimono that I made using a lot of leftover, I think actually it was a tapestry piece that I didn't like how it turned out, so I cut it up into different things, and then I thought, oh, that looks like a mandala, a kimono, and it was around the time of the cherry blossoms, so it was really fun to put that together and see that emerge out of these leftover pieces. So I just take whatever I have in my studio and I just start creating and something will come. I don't always know what it's going to be, but something will come out of it. And sometimes it's not good and I don't keep it, but oftentimes it is. So we all have our successes and our failures, I guess. But then here's some other totally different kinds of styles. And as I probably beating the bush here, listen to your heart and your soul and listen to your intuition. And the one on the left was a glass combing piece. And it really was something that came out of dreams and some work I was doing with a program that a Jungian study group does with art and symbolism. And then the middle one, I started doing multiple layers, just trying to go deeper. And so I took lots, and I love Ian Chadwick's work too, because I like to work with the stringers as pieces. So I started making a lot of different kinds of strip pieces, but then I put them all together on top. So it really creates wonderful depth. And then I let it, I put it in a mold and it created another wonderful, wonderful different shapes out of that. So there's lots of room for playing with multiple layers of the pieces there. And then the right hand one was just, I had a leftover piece that I put in the middle. I thought, oh, wouldn't that look pretty with some strip pieces on the side, making it sort of a mandala, but like a sun flare mandala. So, there's really, just listen to your intuition and be open to whatever comes, because lots of different styles come. And so this is the soul card. This was the card that I drew for the program tonight. So I thought, okay, what's the universe telling us is going on? And I thought, how interesting. And this is some information about the Deborah Koff Chapin's soul cards. But so to me, the card says breathing oneness and a sense of hope and rebirth and new beginnings. But it might mean anything else to you. So I'd be interested during our Q&A, whatever it means for you. And gratitude. So gratitude is a big part of meditation. And what I learned is that gratitude doesn't come from happiness. Happiness comes from gratitude. And so gratitude, we just open our hearts, and gratitude can transform our life sooner than anything else. And so I just wanted to acknowledge the way all of you share gratitude in the world. I mean, the Sunflower Bakery and the scholarships, the Guild does so many good things, but Wiser does things, the Washington Glass School, the Art Glass Center, the Creative Craft Council, and I wanted to thank especially Lori Marino and Wilderness Glass, who donated a lot of Murini for the classes we taught at Wiser. So these glass communities we're in are so, so wonderful. I'm so grateful to the sense of community and sharing. And then also just finally, the healing power of mandalas and art. And the quote on the left is, it was maybe a little oblique, but it's, when a complex system is far from equilibrium, Small islands of coherence in a sea of chaos have the capacity to shift the entire system to a higher order. So I really do believe that what we do and what we bring can be that 51st monkey, if you will. It can help change from some of the chaos we're facing right now. And so I wanted to just do a little bit of a Vipassana gratitude meditation with you all. And may you be safe. May you be happy. May you be free from fear. May you be free from hate. May you hold yourself with compassion. And may you be at peace. So thank you. And any questions?
Thank you so much, Karen. So wonderful to learn all of the intricacies about the mandalas and the significance of them in general, and also to you yourself, and how it really has become a great journey for you.
No, it really has. And thanks to everybody. And I see a couple of the AGC people, especially thanks to them. They were held me in the beginning. And so we've had a long journey together. So thanks
That's
everybody.
a great support system.
Hey, Margaret. Hi. And
So
Sharon.
just
and Elaine.
let's open it up if you all have comments or questions that you'd like to discuss. Margaret Halpin says, wonderful presentation. Thank you. Feel free to just unmute yourself and speak up.
I just want to say thank you. That was very inspiring, and I really appreciate the way you put that together for us. It really touched me in a lot of ways. So thank you
Oh.
very much for everything you put in there tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. I learned a lot. It was I knew it at one level, but it brought everything a lot deeper for me as well. So as it always does. And so and I saw Amy Wolverton. I'm not sure she's still there, but hi Amy, if you're there.
Yeah. Dawn Douglas, would you like to say a few words?
Hi.
Hey, Dawn.
Hey, it's been a minute. Hi, Karen. I find that when I'm doing my strip cutting, I'm almost like doing mandalas because I'm also meditating as I'm doing my pieces and picking the colors. I'll start off with an idea, and then as I'm doing it, it changes like halfway through, and it's like, oh man, okay. And I just flow with it. And sometimes I also play music because I feel that music and the intentions that's going into the piece is what's going to be transferred to the person who winds up with the piece. And so I'm always putting in good positive intention in when I'm doing my piece, because a film that I wrote has to do with mandalas and the sand, Tibetan Buddhist permanence and impermanence. Because one time I was working on a piece almost done and I dropped it and I'm like, oh no. And I had to do it all over again. But the second time I did it, it was a lot better.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's wonderful persistence, and it's a really good point on that impermanence, and the importance of having that good energy going into, a good attitude going in. And as a Buddhist will say, they want the most peaceful, loving person to make the food, because they're going to be putting that energy into the food, and that will feed everyone. So, do you want to get the food from the happy heart or the nasty heart? I think we all would rather have the happy heart food. So sounds like you're doing great. Thank you.
So I had a technical question for you. Do you work with a metal ring, or are you working on a piece of glass, or both?
Oh, in putting the mandala together?
Yes.
I use a normal piece of glass of protected glass, and or maybe it's a colored glass, but just a regular 3/8 inch piece of glass. And then I don't dam it. I don't do anything. I just put it there. I try not to put the pieces too close to the edge. Sometimes, the Murini on the edge especially will kind of spread it a little bit. So I do have cold work at the end where I've got to smooth it out. Sometimes I
Sure.
leave it rough a little bit. Well, it's not rough, but natural. Like my Out of Africa piece that was in the show. I didn't do that because I just thought it looked more natural to have that, kind of a, earthy look on it.
Mhm,
But I normally have to do some cold working. It's not too bad though. It doesn't spread that much. And I found that trying to put you put all those little teeny pieces with around it, and it has all kind of line edges anyway. So I
Right.
tried that. It was not better. So
mhm, mhm. Well, they're really incredible. And so, do you ever run out of Murini when you're making a piece and you think you're going to use something? And that's happened to me before. You've
yes.
got a whole what you think is a huge amount of Murini, and then you start using it, and all of a sudden you don't have enough, and that causes you to have to go in a different direction with it.
Well, or one time, this is a great story. So one time I got to the very end of, almost the very end, and I needed one more Murini, one more. I couldn't start over. It was already at this point. And so well, actually I needed two more. So what I had one that wasn't very thick, and I thought, okay, well, I I glued it on top of a different Murini, so you couldn't tell. It was like a Murini base under it that was sort of clear. And then I needed one other one that was one of Lori Marino's, and she didn't have it on her website anymore because a lot of those, they're not ones that you can get later. So I had bought several little packs of the flowery ones from Lori, and I thought, oh, wonder if there might be one of these in that pack. And there was. I think, the Murini gods and goddesses were with me that day, so I was able to finish it. But then there are times when, it's hard to guess how much you're really going to need. And you could be counting forever and still not really know what you're going to need. So, but I have found all three of the people that I mentioned are really, really good about making more for me of something. And I've called them desperately several times. And each time, we all know when we do Murini, it's not going to be exactly the same. So, sometimes it's a little hard finding, if I need some, and if I have a lot, I can mix it in and the colors kind of blend. But sometimes, you're right, it's a challenge, but you can redesign. Sometimes if I'm not close to the edge, I can redesign. But if you're down to the end, it's about so anyway,
And do you pull
all the
do you pull
challenges.
your own Murini as
I
well?
do some of it. I just find it really, and I have a system set up at home. I just find it really, it takes a lot of time and a lot of glass, and then you get a lot of Murini. And I may not want that much. And I like lots of different colors. So I can't pull 30 different sets of greens, for example. But I am trying to do more just because it's also very expensive to buy them. But I have, if ever there was a story of a hoarder, it would be me and my Murini. I have so many big drawers I have a drawer full of the greens, a drawer full of the turquoise. And anyway,
Wow.
I love it
Incredible.
though. And when you're trying to do something like that sunflower one, I used like maybe 15 different shades of yellow and brown. But I looked through about 40 different possibilities before I picked the
Wow.
ones that I wanted to use in there. So, and I wouldn't have all that variety if I didn't
Sure.
buy a
Didn't
lot.
buy them. Mhm.
Yeah.
Uh,
But I do want to start doing more of my own Murini. I'm not very good at it, but that's part that Nancy does most of that part of the class and teaching. So
Great. Are you going to be teaching the mandala class again soon?
Not soon. We just taught it in February. And in fact, I
Mhm.
checked with Sharon and Nancy before because I said, I bet I'm going to get that question. And they said, but we don't have anything planned this, it won't be this year. But
Mhm.
we have tended to do it about once a year in spring, sometime spring. And so a lot of it depends, Nancy, as probably most of you know, Nancy has a new grandbaby. So a lot of it's going to depend on competing for Nancy's time with the grandbaby. But hopefully,
Got it.
and Sharon keeps a list. If you would like to take it, then let her know, and she keeps that list. And when enough people want to do it, then we'll schedule it. It's a lot of fun.
Great. Great. I'm sure there will be lots of takers in the future. Michelle Real says that doing glass is her Zen time.
It is. Oh, I agree, Michelle. Oh, it's just, oh, everything, life is good down in that studio. One year at a time. Oh, it's wonderful.
I totally agree. Susan Mason wants to know, when you take the class, do participants make pattern bars during the class?
Oh, yes, definitely. So we start out, I mean, you do make pattern bars first. Then while that's being done, we pull Murini. Then if we have time, we pull another set of Murini, and then we have Murini there available too. And then really the biggest part of the class, we try to finish all that by the second day. Yeah, so we're doing that the first and second day, and then the third day, things are all done, and you're chopping up the Murini, and then that's the integration, and you need as much time as possible for that integration. We hope people can actually start it on the second day, so the Thursday, so then they go to bed at night, and it kind of, settles a little bit, and then the third day is integrating it all, and then the fourth day, it's really more of it come in the afternoon because it takes a while for the thicker slabs things to get done out of the kiln. So we get them out of the kiln, and then we have everybody. We do, of course, our little meditation and qigong, and then we have everybody give a little bit of a talk of what how they felt in the beginning of the class, and then what the soul card meant to them, and then afterwards what messages came to them, and where do they see this going next. So it's a nice ending of the last day. Fourth day is, I guess, the third and the half day on the last day is really a nice integration of the integration work we've just been doing. So you learn a lot. It's very good. And we give lots of examples.
Sounds like a great class. Yeah.
Several
Anyone
people
else?
have taken it every time, by the way. So it doesn't, because you're a new person each class, you go in, you're new, and new ideas are coming. So it's a lot of fun.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments? I'm not seeing anyone. We really appreciate you taking the time to put together the presentation and to present it to us. It's been really lovely to hear about your journey and also to see the different examples of your work.
Thank you all so much.
Yeah,
It was
thank
an
you.
honor to be here. I really love you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Nice seeing everybody.
See you all.
Thanks,
Bye.
Karen. Good night. Thank you.